North Sentinel Island is famous for one reason above all. The people who live there, the Sentinelese tribe, fiercely guard their home with deadly force. Unlike any other indigenous group on Earth, the Sentinelese have made it abundantly clear they want nothing to do with outsiders. This tribe, often called the most isolated community in the world, has survived for thousands of years completely untouched by modern society. Their story is one of survival, defiance, and tragic conflict, because anyone who dares to come too close faces grave danger. The Sentinelese are believed to be one of the last uncontacted peoples remaining today. They live on North Sentinel Island, a small, heavily forested landmass in the Bay of Bengal, but it's their way of life that captivates and terrifies people worldwide. This is a tribe that rejects all outside influence, clinging to traditions, customs, and survival methods that predate recorded history. They live in total isolation, refusing contact, and have repeatedly demonstrated their willingness to defend their home violently. Very little is known about the Sentinelese in detail, as attempts to study or interact with them are extremely limited and dangerous. The tribe is thought to number anywhere from 50 to 400 people, though estimates vary widely because no official census has ever been conducted. They live in small, family-based groups scattered across the island, relying on hunting, fishing, and gathering to survive. Their tools are simple: bows and arrows, spears, and wooden canoes, yet highly effective, and they have no known exposure to modern technology or external culture. What sets the Sentinelese apart from other isolated tribes is their unyielding hostility toward outsiders. Unlike groups that have gradually accepted contact or adapted to changes, the Sentinelese have consistently rejected visitors and even aerial surveys. From the very first recorded encounters, the tribe has made it clear that any intrusion will be met with force. They have been known to fire arrows at helicopters, boats, and fishermen who accidentally stray too close. The reason behind this fierce protection is clear. For the Sentinelese, the outsiders represent a mortal threat. History shows that contact with the outside world often brings disease, exploitation, and cultural destruction to isolated tribes. The Sentinelese have understandably learned to view strangers with suspicion and aggression as a means of survival. Their defense of their territory is both a physical and cultural barrier, a line they will not allow anyone to cross. One of the earliest known contacts with the Sentinelese occurred in the late 19th century, during British colonial times. At that point, explorers and government officials attempted to approach the island to map the region and make contact with its inhabitants. The Sentinelese responded with hostility, attacking with arrows and forcing outsiders to retreat. This initial aggression set the tone for all future encounters. Over the decades, the Indian government has launched several efforts to make peaceful contact with the tribe. Anthropologists and officials tried dropping gifts from boats and helicopters, coconuts, metal tools, and other offerings in hopes of building trust. For a brief period, the Sentinelese accepted these gifts, but any attempts at direct contact were met with aggression. The tribe's refusal to be approached or studied has only deepened their mystery. Tragically, the Sentinelese's fierce defense has led to fatal encounters for outsiders. Several fishermen and adventurers have paid the ultimate price for venturing too close. In 2006, two fishermen drifted near North Sentinel Island while fishing illegally and were attacked by the tribe. Their boat was found destroyed and their bodies were never recovered. This event was a stark reminder of the dangers involved and reinforced the government's strict no-contact policy. The most high-profile tragedy occurred in 2018 when an American missionary named John Allen Chow attempted to contact the Sentinelese to convert them to Christianity. Despite clear warnings from authorities and local fishermen, Chow made multiple attempts to approach the island illegally. On his final visit, armed with a Bible and gifts, he was met with arrows and ultimately killed by the tribe. His body was removed from the island by fishermen who witnessed the attack. Chow's death sparked worldwide debate about the ethics of contacting isolated tribes and highlighted the lethal risks of ignoring their sovereignty. What is remarkable about the Sentinelese is not just their hostility, but the clarity of their message. They have repeatedly demonstrated through their actions that they do not want to be disturbed. This is not mere aggression born of fear or misunderstanding, but a deliberate and consistent defense of their right to remain isolated. The Sentinelese live according to their own rules, and their refusal to integrate or communicate with outsiders has been unbroken for thousands of years. Despite their isolation, satellite imagery and limited aerial observations have given glimpses of their lifestyle. The tribe constructs simple huts from wood and palm leaves, and they maintain small gardens or clearings within the dense forest. They fish in the shallow waters surrounding the island and hunt wild pigs and other animals. Their knowledge of the land and sea is expert and has allowed them to thrive in complete seclusion. The Sentinelese's rejection of outsiders is also linked to the devastating history other indigenous groups have suffered. In the past, many tribes were decimated by diseases like smallpox, measles, and influenza, brought by first contact with explorers and settlers. The Sentinelese, who, having no immunity to these diseases, face an existential threat if exposed. This makes the Indian government's protection policies not just a matter of respecting privacy, but a necessity to preserve their existence. The story of the Sentinelese challenges many modern assumptions about progress and civilization. In a world where connectivity and cultural exchange are celebrated, the Sentinelese stand apart as a people determined to maintain their own identity and way of life, no matter the cost. Their hostility toward outsiders can be seen as a radical form of self-preservation and rejection of a world that has caused so much harm to indigenous peoples. The Indian government's policy is clear. North Sentinel Island and its people must be left alone. It is illegal to approach the island within 3 nautical miles, and enforcement is taken seriously. Patrol boats and surveillance missions monitor the waters to prevent illegal visits and to protect both the Sentinelese and would-be intruders. This policy recognizes the tribe's right to remain undisturbed and acknowledges the potentially deadly consequences of any interference. The Sentinelese's story is often framed as a mystery or a curiosity, but at its heart is a powerful lesson about respect. They embody the right of every community to self-determination and cultural survival. Their rejection of outsiders is a reminder that not all human societies want to be connected or assimilated. Sometimes the strongest statement of freedom is simply the refusal to be touched. For all the fascination and danger surrounding North Sentinel Island, the Sentinelese remain a people whose voice we can only hear through their actions. Their arrows flying through the air, their fierce defense of the shoreline, and their refusal to communicate are their way of saying, "This is our home and it is not Ishinping." This message, repeated over centuries, must be understood and respected. The tragic deaths of outsiders who underestimated the Sentinelese's resolve underscore the reality that this tribe is not a tourist attraction or an adventure spot. They are a living culture, defending their existence against overwhelming odds. Their story is one of survival in the face of an ever-encroaching world, and it challenges us to think differently about what it means to respect human diversity. Yet even as the world watches from afar, fascination and debate swirl around North Sentinel Island. Many see the Sentinelese as a kind of living time capsule, imagining them as untouched relics of the past. But this romantic curiosity can be deeply harmful, ignoring the reality that they are a living, autonomous people, making deliberate choices to protect themselves. They are not museum exhibits or subjects for adventure stories. They are a community with the clear and repeated message that they want to be left alone. The Indian government's strict no-contact policy exists not only to avoid violent encounters, but to prevent catastrophe. History has shown the devastation that contact can bring to isolated tribes. Diseases like smallpox or measles have wiped out entire populations with no immunity. Even well-meaning visitors can unknowingly carry deadly pathogens. For the Sentinelese, isolation is not simply cultural preference. It is a critical survival strategy. Any breach could spark an epidemic that their small community would struggle to survive. Beyond disease, cultural intrusion poses another threat. Outsiders may arrive with good intentions, offering trade, religion, or study, but even small exchanges can disrupt traditional ways of life. Foreign goods can change economies, foreign ideas can undermine social structures, and contact itself can erode the customs that hold their society together. What seems like harmless outreach can be seen as cultural aggression. Their hostility is not savagery, but a strategy of preservation. The no-contact policy recognizes these dangers and seeks to honor the Sentinelese's right to self-determination. By enforcing a 3-mile exclusion zone, India is saying that the Sentinelese have the right to remain uncontacted, that they cannot give informed consent to contact, and that protecting them means respecting their choice. It also prevents outsiders, from reckless tourists to zealous missionaries, from making fatal mistakes out of arrogance or ignorance. Ultimately, the Sentinelese stand as a powerful challenge to our assumptions about progress and civilization. They remind us that not every society values global integration, technological advancement, or cultural exchange in the same way. Their defiant isolation is not ignorance, but agency. By rejecting contact, they preserve their world on their own terms. Their message is unmistakably clear: we do not want you here. And in a world that often fails to respect indigenous rights, their refusal forces us to confront the uncomfortable truth that sometimes real respect means listening and staying away. As more people learn about the Sentinelese, it is essential to approach their story with humility. Their isolation is not a spectacle, but a deliberate choice, born from centuries of experience and survival instincts. The deaths that have occurred on North Sentinel Island are not accidents, but consequences of violating that choice. North Sentinel Island, through the Sentinelese, challenges us to rethink our assumptions about civilization, culture, and human rights. It is a stark reminder that some boundaries are not meant to be crossed, and that respect sometimes means leaving things as they are, even if it means walking away from mystery and curiosity. If you found the story of the Sentinelese tribe eye-opening, please like, share, and comment below. What are your thoughts on their fierce protection of their culture? Do you believe all tribes have the right to isolation, or should there be more attempts at contact? Subscribe for more stories about the world's most fascinating and mysterious peoples.